You're listening to a spinoff from Night of the Living podcast, Zoned Out, the Twilight Zone Revisited with Freddy and Joe. Hey, Joe.
Hold on. I'm still spinning. Here I am.
Yep.
Good morning, Freddy. How are you?
I'm good. We were just talking about our morning to-dos. I was just doing some choring, as you do.
Yeah. Today I have a fun chore after we record. I get to go up in the attic and run some Ethernet cable if I can. So
I hope you find a mysterious package up there. And it enriches your life somehow.
Funny story about that. How many employers ago? Three employers ago, there was a story that we moved into a warehouse that we had not been into before, and that's not true. Somebody had been in there; they'd be using it as a warehouse just generally, and they made it into an office space. And there was a crawl space, like a hung ceiling. And when they were wiring everything up in there, I wasn't there, but when they were wiring everything up, they did find a mysterious package full of white powder and about $8,000 in cash.
Wow. So somebody was hiding. They were almost certainly a dealer then.
Yeah.
They had both. That's interesting. There's a whole story there that's probably amazing.
I'm guessing there's lots of information that I was not privy to, but yeah.
Have you ever seen
the
documentary Cocaine Cowboys?
Yeah, on the recommendation of NOTOP.
Oh, really?
Cocaine Cowboys 1 and 2.
Yeah, 2's really good too.
Kilos of cocaine.
Kilos of cocaine. So we're talking the Twilight Zone today. We're gonna be talking about the Big Tall Wish. Original air date.
Actually, pretty amazing episode. I'm sorry, I'm going to stop interrupting you.
Oh, no, you're fine. Yeah, it's really, it's got a real sweetness to it. Original air date, April 8th, 1960. This is the second of 3 episodes directed by Ronald Winston. He did The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, which is an all-time classic. I think any Twilight Zone fan would agree. And Stopover in a Quiet Town, which we haven't gotten to yet. The episode was written by Rod Serling, music by Jerry Goldsmith. He appears in his work in 55 episodes of The Twilight Zone. Best known for Soaring Around the World, probably right now, because that is an attraction at both Disneyland and Disney World, I believe. And it's hugely popular. And I don't know if you know about what it is. It's where you hang glide in like an Omnimax style immersive theater. And you fly over different parts of the world, and there's scents from the world. You know, you can smell the dirt and everything. It's really cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and the music is gorgeous. But like they did Soarin'. It used to be Soarin' Over California, and then they updated it, I think, in 2016 with all new music. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
I was just gonna say, is that one of those things that they have at lots of different like amusement places now? It's something similar. It's not quite. It's kind of like you're in a chair and you're soaring over, but it doesn't have the sense and all the rest of that stuff. But it's like
this is it really simulates the experience of hang gliding, and that's cool. And that's how it kind of works. It feels like you're hang gliding with a bunch of other people, but you're seated. Yeah,
feels amazing. Sounds amazing.
It's one of the most like relaxing, nice things you can do in the parks, the Disney parks. But it's an Epcot at Disney World, and then at Disneyland, it's like I think in California. Well, no, it's not. It might be in the California Adventure. I don't know. Wouldn't quote me on that. Terrible memory.
Anyway, Jerry Goldsmith, amazing.
Yeah, LA Confidential, The Boys from Brazil, and Star Trek. So the Next Generation music, a lot of that's him. 14 in the cast, including Serling. Boley Jackson is the main character. He's an aging boxer. This is the first of 2 episodes for that actor who later became a director, Ivan Dixon. He's going to return in season 5's I Am the Night, Color Me Black. He began his career on Broadway, and he's best known for playing Ken Schlo on Hogan's Heroes. Did you watch that at all?
A little bit as a kid, yeah, a little bit.
It was like syndicated in the 80s, so like that's how I knew about it. But it was, it was originally from the 60s, and it's if you've never seen Hogan's Heroes, they're like POWs in a German camp, and they're always trying to escape, and it's very light and comic, but half of the cast are like Nazi characters.
Comedy in a concentration camp.
Yeah.
It's like Life is Beautiful, except an American sitcom.
Lots of giggles. He was also in A Raisin in the Sun, the 1961 film, Nothing But a Man, and To Trap a Spy. He was Sidney Poitier's stunt double in The Defiant Ones, and they became friends because of that, which I thought was kind of neat. That's a great movie if you've never seen that too.
Very cool.
Kind of a chase movie. Member of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, Directors Guild of America, Screen Actors Guild of America, and Black Filmmakers Hall of Fame. He built the first radio station. This guy's so interesting, and so I'm trying to get all this stuff off rapid fire. He built
take your time.
Yeah, built the first radio station licensed to Lanai City, Hawaii, and operated it from '93 until he moved back to North Carolina in 2001. And he was always wanted to own a radio station, which is kind of cool that he got to do it. Yeah,
I love that.
And then you have the sweetest little boy, Henry Temple, Bully's biggest fan. This is Stephen Perry, not the one you're thinking of. Don't stop believing. No, it's a different Stephen Perry.
You got to believe, Bully.
Yeah, that's what I think of the way he says that. It's so sweet and cute.
I love it. Yes.
Oh,
so much earnest, energy. I love it.
He's so good. Also, he was in Raisin in the Sun as well. He was in The Sound and the Fury, the movie adaptation of that. Only 18 credits, but he retired from acting in '97. Last thing he did was he played One-Eyed Viking on a TV fantasy film called Escape from Atlantis, which looks kind of fun and cheap. It looks like something from like the Hercules, Xena kind of adjacent type stuff. He now owns Stevie's Creole Cafe in LA. It's at 5545 West Pico Boulevard if you want to go check it out. And I did verify they are still in business. At least they have a website. Check it out.
I want to take a field trip and visit all these people.
They have a lot of tacos on the menu for a Creole place. Huh. Francis Temple. This is Kim Hamilton, who plays the little boy's mom, Henry's mom. Ubiquitous, all over TV. Guiding Light was probably the main thing, but she was also on a series called Checkmate. Ben Casey, which is probably a little more popular. People probably know Ben Casey more than these other shows. But the one thing that really stands out to me is she played Sanji on Star Trek Next Gen, who's the alien when they have the garbage barge in space that's leaking like toxic material, and she comes to the Enterprise for help because her people were getting sick. But in that, her face is like completely covered in this crazy makeup. But she had like an awesome career all over the place,
which is a shame because she's stunningly beautiful. Why
cover her? That's what I was thinking. Why cover her face? Yeah, full alien makeup.
Wow.
Yeah. This is another of many connections to Star Trek, from Twilight Zone to Star Trek. She was the only black actor to have a speaking role in the series Leave It to Beaver. That was from '57, so it kind of tracks with the time. But Leave It to Beaver, super white show, maybe one of the whitest shows.
Yeah.
She played a maid, of course, in the episode The Parking Attendants. That episode came out in 1963, so right at the the cusp of some major changes in the civil rights movement too. So it's all pretty interesting. Thomas, who's I assume he's the fight promoter. He's the sleazy guy in the story.
Yeah.
This is a first of two appearances from Henry Scott. He's going to return in season 4 as the 30 Fathom Grave, but he's best known for being on the Fugitive TV show. So just a couple other things before we get in the story. After airing the episode, the all-black cast, almost all-black cast, was such a big deal that it was awarded the 1961 Unity Award for outstanding contributions for better race relations. I also wanted to mention how great the guy who plays Joe, that's Bully's corner man, Walter Berg.
The guy who looks like Willem Dafoe.
He does. That guy,
Totally.
I was reading about him, and people usually described him as being like a real life leprechaun, is how they described his appearance.
Okay.
And it really kind of it enhances the viewing experience if you know that, I think.
Right.
And he's
Right.
Irish too, but you can't tell in this. Yeah, and that's about everything I have as far as like background and interesting little fun things. Oh, sorry about the noise.
That's very cool. All good. It's interesting too. The when I was doing a little background reading on it too, I was wondering about that fight promoter, and I read some kind of people talking about the episode, and they're like, yeah, pretty much everybody. Someone mentions that it's an all black cast, and another person's like, yeah, everybody except for the promoter and the trainer, and I was like, I think the promoter's African American. And sure enough, looking through the other credits and some things about his life, he actually is. But it's kind of one of those things where I once heard a Malcolm Gladwell, who's African American, talking about his how people see him in different areas.
I had no idea he was African American.
Yeah. So it's funny. He's like, whenever when I'm looking at an audience and I'm talking to people, he's like, white people don't realize that I am. And he said, and every black person does. He's like, it's just one of those things that you just know.
Yeah.
And it really kind of struck me, and so I've been, as a white person myself, been paying it more attention to understanding the dynamics of all of that too. And it's really, I don't know, it's something that stands out to me, that once you start paying attention, you see those instances of how people are treated differently based on, I mean, obviously racism, all of that, but the subtle differences in how people are treated based on the lightness of their skin if they're African American. And it's like a stunning thing. So to every person of color listening, like, yes, I apologize. I'm now 48 years old and just realizing this to the degree I am. But yeah, so I don't know. I feel like every little bit of learning is useful and helpful.
I agree.
So yeah. I think this was, people have said that also, that this was pretty groundbreaking for 1960 to have a primarily all black cast to lead the show, and it's got a lot of interesting themes and stuff, and on the first glance it could seem like a pretty simple story, but there's a lot of like metaphor in it, and so I'll just get into describing it. So it starts out and we do the voiceover right away, and that's Mr. Serling saying, in this corner of the universe, a prize fighter named Bully Jackson, 183 pounds and an hour and a half away from a comeback at St. Nick's Arena. Mr. Bully Jackson, who, by the standards of his profession, is an aging over-the-hill relic of what was, and who now sees a reflection of a man who has left too many pieces of his youth in too many stadiums for too many years, before too many screaming people. Mr. Bully Jackson, who might do well to look for some gentle magic in the hard surface glass that stares back at him.
He's starting to doubt himself too, I think.
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah, he's an old aging fighter, largely described. This is his last real shot at some praise and some fame, or at least just to win one. And so they start going into right off the bat, he's talking to Henry, and so he's looking in the mirror. It starts out he's looking in the mirror and he's talking to this little kid Henry. You don't realize it until the camera kind of pans around and you see that Henry's sitting on the bed as he's talking. He's kind of getting ready for this fight. And he goes to Henry and he's like, he's kind of just watching in the mirror, and he says, a fighter don't need a scrapbook, Henry. Hey, you want to know what he's done? Where he's fought? You read it in his face. He's got the whole story cut into his flesh. And then he starts describing each individual scar as a fight he fought and what happened in that fight. And a lot of times it's how sometimes they fought dirty. He used his laces to do this, or he took me into the corner pole to do this, or but he's another time he talks about how the first time he got his nose broken twice in a fight. And at the end of it, he's kind of just describing himself, and he's like, a tired old man trying to catch a bus. The bus is already gone, left a couple of years ago. And he starts going through that whole thing. So he's kind of feeling that like he's washed up, like he's missed the bus to glory, but he's trying to catch that last bus one last time, is really what it all boils down to. And Henry is just this little kid, a super cute, adorable, and he's cheering on Henry every little bit. We find out in a little bit that Boley, takes him to baseball games, and they go for walks together. Just a super cool guy, but he's not his dad, and they're not related or anyway. He's just a good friend to him.
He has no ulterior motives or anything. He's just a sweet man.
It's actually really the way they play it out too is not. It doesn't give me that creepy vibe at all.
Right. It's like, not like he's trying to get with the mom, like in any kind of forceful, like using him in some sort of like ploy or anything. It's really about the relationship between the two guys, the little man and the big man.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's very, very cute. I kept thinking like a big brother, big sister relationship.
Yeah, definitely
in the organization,
or real life even. Like he definitely kind of felt like an older brother to him. And his hands, I love when he would grab little Henry's shoulders, and his big hands would almost swallow that kid up completely.
Yeah. And he was never, even when he was like, there's a point later where he's trying to convince him of something, and he's kind of like, no, you need to understand. And he's kind of grabbing him, but he's never grabbing him hard. He's always just kind of very gentle with him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely a person who knows.
But dramatic nonetheless. A dramatic, like frantic quality, but not like shaking him or anything. But you feel like it could be. It's that energy without the shaking of the baby.
Yeah. And so he's heading out, and Boley, Henry is cheering him on. He's like, Boley, you are going to catch a tiger tonight. I'm going to make a wish. I'm going to make a big, tall wish. And you ain't going to hurt none either. You hear, Boley? You've been hurt enough already. You're my friend, Boley. You're my good and close friend. It's just like a beautiful, like he's so sweet to him. And Boley's kind of taken off guard by this. Not taken off guard, but like he's kind of like he was smiling, and his face kind of like falls into like a, man, you got some old man vibes here. And he even goes down as he leaves. He tells the mom, Frances, he's like, you got a good little old man there, And she's talking about, he's saying, he wishing for me, and she says, he's always wishing, she said, but occasionally he'll make a big tall wish, and those are the special ones. Those are the ones that are the most meaningful. He doesn't just say those anytime. And as like a foreshadowing, she says, the other day I needed $15, I think she says, for rent. And Henry made a big tall wish, and the lady I work for on the island sent me a check. She's like, for $15. So like it lined up that she needed $15. I hope I said that earlier. She needed $15 for rent.
Yeah.
And then she got a check for $15. It's kind of like, well,
Henry wished it. He wished it, and it happened.
Wishes work, exactly. And Boley's still kind of dismissing it. He's kind of like, oh, okay, but then he starts to kind of reflect about how sad it is and how hard it is. He's like, that sweet boy is just gonna get hit reality sometime. And I wrote down this other quote that really stood out to me. And he's not talking. He's talking to Francis, but he's not looking at her. He's just kind of just looking off to the side, and he says, "When do they find out, Francis? When do they suddenly find out that there ain't any magic? When does somebody push their face down to the sidewalk and say to him, 'Hey, little boy, it's concrete. That's what the world is made out of, concrete.' When do they find out that you can wish your life away?" And so Bowley is feeling like he largely wished his life away. And you hear more of that later on as he kind of goes along with the episode. But I don't know. It's this, again, this sweet relationship between these two, and really these three with the mom in there. And
it speaks kind a lot to, just to what he was saying about wishing your life away. Like that's a lot of that is like professional athletes and entertainers and stuff. A lot of the people who get into it young and they're real passionate about these things, but they usually have these short lifespans, the career itself.
Yeah.
Like, I think that it's perfect for a boxer to kind of feel that way.
Yeah, totally. And it's that, as we get to it later, this actually ends up being a metaphor for like the civil rights movement in some ways, because it's like somebody else described it online as like a generational thing of like older generations saying we fought and we fought and we fought for change and it just hasn't happened, and a younger generation saying, well, we got to keep trying, we got to keep trying to do this. And it's like those two life experiences both being valid become like conflicting, right? Because there's a whole generation that's like, no, you don't understand, we've fought for a long time and nothing has happened. And so it's interesting to see the relation between these two.
Yeah.
And the way the plot of the story plays out is interesting also because it doesn't give any sort of well, we'll get to it, we'll talk more at the end, but there's just a lot of interesting dynamics. So the boxer, Bowley, goes in. He's getting ready for the fight. Everybody's wishing him well in the neighborhood. Everybody's kind of like, hey, you got it, Boxy. Or Bowley, you got him,
Boxy, and, Boxy the boxer.
Boxy the boxer. You're so good at boxing. We'll call you Boxy. And then the Willem Dafoe trainer. I swear, guy looks he's got that whole face.
Joe's not much bigger than Henry.
Yeah. Joe, the trainer,
he's not a little leprechaun man.
A little fella.
Yeah.
And so they get in there, and the promoter is smoking a cigar in the prep room in the back room, and Bowley's getting upset with him. He's like, hey, would you put it out? And he's like, hey, you got me for $20. And he's like, that includes me and the cigar. He's like, I said put it out, right? He's like, fine. So he puts it out.
In hindsight, it almost could read as like a form of sabotage.
Oh, I think very much so.
Yeah.
Because the next thing that happens is he's like, all right, so tell me about this fighter. I haven't fought him before. And the promoter is constantly antagonistic. And then he goes, I haven't seen him fight before. And Bowley and the trainer are like, what did he just say? Like, they can't believe it. And they look over at him and he's like, you've seen this guy fight 5, 6, 7 times. He's like, you're telling me you've never seen him? He said, not only did I hire you to represent me, but now you're going to bet against me, So he's convinced that the promoters bet against him, which seems like it's true because the promoter's just antagonizing him. Bowley grabs the promoter and puts him up against the wall. And he's like, I may fall out in that ring, but I'm going to have a beautiful first round right here. And he pulls back to punch him. Promoter moves and he punches the wall and breaks his knuckles, which I got to imagine that's, obviously it's staged here, but you can imagine something like that happening.
Somebody who's really swinging too.
Right. The promoter disappears. We don't see him anymore after this. And he realizes he's busted up his knuckles. Bowley realizes he's busted up his knuckles in this argument. And he's like, and the people keep coming in saying, hey, he's ready. We're ready to go. And he's like, all right, well, let's let's do it anyway. Let's go out there. So they get his gloves on. It's clearly painful to put the gloves on. They go out there. They do a kind of a cool set of shots that for the reminded me of Raging Bull with a lot of the kind of over the shoulder shots. They had a lot of really big close-ups of the audience, and you mainly seeing like their hands.
And their
popcorn. So you're seeing their hands, wringing their hands. The guy chomping popcorn like he's at a movie. Again, I thought it was interesting how they represented everyone. So most of the women are like their hands are like shaking, covering their eyes, and or squeezing an arm, and most of the guys' hands are ringing a program or kind of punching at themselves, or one guy is like cleaning out underneath his fingernails with a toothpick and then sticks it in his mouth. It's kind of gross. So then we're watching that, and we're seeing Boley just get murdered. He's just getting hit and hit and hit and hit and hit. And finally, he gets knocked down, and they're counting up, and we get the really cool shot from underneath the mat. So we see him over to the side, and if you look close during the shot, you can just see where one part of his head is smushed against the glass that they put.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Camera behind. Yeah, you see just one tiny little spot on his head where his hair's flattened down. But it's a fantastic shot, and they're counting down, and it gets up to 9, and everybody's kind of freaking out. And as they start counting, we see a clip to Henry jump to the TV, and he's like pushing his face against the screen. He's like, Boley, 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 I'm making my wish. I don't, Boley, please, Boley, please get up. And they do this interesting thing where the audio, everything freezes at 9 as they're counting, and the audio goes silent, and the frame freezes, which is kind of an odd, it's kind of really takes you out of it for a moment, because you're like, what just happened? Because they freeze what looks like film. And then there's several shots shown in silence, and then they start playing this kind of an eerie music underneath for a few seconds, and there's more close-ups of people with their hands, and then Henry is still moving. Everything else is frozen. Everything else is freeze framed, but Henry is still moving, silently wishing. You see his mouth moving, and he's got his face pressed right up against the glass. And in a moment, everything comes back to life, and you see that Boley is now no longer the one on the mat. It's his opponent. And the count restarts, and Boley wins. And it was just like, whoa, that was really kind of interesting and disjointed and bizarre, but how else are you going to show that, right?
Yeah. I mean, instead of them having the tide turn in the fight and have Boley win, they're dealing with 20 minutes, 22 minutes, right? They can't afford to go through that like you would in a movie where you like have that satisfying actual victory. But it's totally, because that's not the point of the episode. It's about belief.
Well, and what's cool about it too is as he talks about it later, Boley is like, I swear I was down. I swear I was on the mat. I was getting counted out. And then all of a sudden he's not. And that's exactly his experience. So we see that the glove is up, and then it kind of zooms out from the glove, and Boley's won. And he's like, got a look on his face like, what just happened? And from then on, he's kind of getting congratulated, and they get in the back, and Boley's like, hey, Joe, his trainer, I guess my knuckles were okay, and everything was all right. And he's like, what are you talking about with your knuckles? And he's like, well, when I got knocked down, he's like, you never got knocked down. He said, you were on your feet the whole fight, and you did a great job. I'm proud of you, And it's not a condescending proud. It's like it's like everybody is so happy for him. Like, hey, he finally got a win.
I love his like parade, his one man parade back to home where everybody in the street. Yeah.
Yes. And which is a great, because if you pay attention to that scene, and then later, it's a very interesting contrast, right? You get to see him leaving the neighborhood, getting cheered on. In this case, he comes back to the neighborhood, the hero. People are so excited to see him. Everybody's praising him, and he's super excited, but he's still kind of disjointed. And right at the end, he's one guy, as he's going up the stairs, is like, "Hey, Bowley, you really gave him that right." And he kind of pumps his fist like, "Yeah, I did. I guess I did." And so he goes inside, and he goes and sees Francis, and he's going to see the kid, which is a sweet thing. He said he would check in on the kid, or come check in with the kid. And he goes right up to the roof and meets Henry, and he's like, "Boy, I tell you, I got him tonight, and I'm so excited." And Henry's really happy for him, and they're very excited together. And then he's like, "Boy, it's funny though. I'd swear I got knocked down at one point, but I must have just imagined that." And Henry's face kind of falls like, and then he walks away, and Bowley's like, "But I never fell down. I was never off my feet, Henry. I was never off my feet. It's fine. I was never off my feet." And Henry knows, it was the big tall wish, and so Bowley, in some part of his head, still gets that it didn't happen the way, he didn't win. It didn't happen this way. And Bowley can't accept the fact. He's like, "Wait a minute, didn't it? Didn't I win it?" He's like, "Henry, what happened? I won it, right?" And so Bowley is now trying to hold on to that credit for the fight and hold on to the win. And Henry's like, "No, I wished like you were gonna lose, and I didn't want you to lose, and I didn't want you to get hurt anymore." And Bowley's like, I can't accept that it was magic, Henry." And Henry's like, "Whoa, hey, no, you have to believe it, because if you don't believe it, it doesn't work." And Bowley's like, No, I won this one. It was me out there." And you can see him grappling with this, like, "No, I can't say it was magic. I have to earn it. It has to be mine. I want to own this. This is my win." And Henry's like, please, just believe that it was the wish." And Bowley's like, "I can't." And so they go back and forth, and he hugs, he's arguing with Henry a little bit, but it's not, I've never really like mean in any way. It's just like sad, and he grabs Henry and he's hugging him, and he's like, "Henry, I can't believe. I'm too old and I'm too hurt to believe. I can't, boy. I just can't. Now, Henry, there ain't no such thing as magic. God help us both. I wish there were." And then we get the line, my favorite, "Bowley, you've got to believe."
Believe.
And it's like, we joke about it now, but it's so like he wants so earnestly, like, "Please."
Yeah.
And they actually end up going back and forth, and he's like, "I can't, boy. I can't, boy." And then Henry's like, "You got to believe." And he goes, "I can't, boy. I can't. Please believe." And they're going back and forth and back and forth. And I did see some comments of people who were like, "That was a bit much," but it's like again, this is that moment of it's so kind of bare and emotional of like, please believe that this is possible, right?
That things can be
And again,
better, even like you were
right.
saying. Yeah, it speaks to a much broader thing going on at the time.
We take it back to that metaphor. It's like, things can't, you got to believe that this is possible. Otherwise it's not going to be good.
It won't happen.
We're going to be in the same spot.
Yeah.
It won't happen.
If you don't believe it, it can't happen. Even if it already happened, is kind of the thing at least in the Twilight Zone.
Mm-hmm.
Real life, if you don't believe in something, it doesn't happen, because you don't take action at that point anymore.
Right. Exactly. And so as he's saying, I can't, we pan away from this, and in a moment we focus on the light, and instantly Bowley's back at the fight. He's lying on the canvas. Everything is flip-flop back, and the referee counts him out. And Bowley loses the fight. And we see the secondary reactions. We see Bowley coming back after losing the fight now. And the neighborhood just kind of is dead. It's nobody's saying anything to him except for the one guy at the very end who comes up and goes, "Why didn't you use the right?"
'Cause it's fucking broken.
Exactly. But it's interesting to see those. I love the parallels. I love that storytelling where it's like, I'm going to show you this event in two different ways. So they come inside to the building, and Boley's like, can I see him? You know, talking to Frances, and she's like, yeah, I expect he's waiting for you. And she goes in there, and Henry is sleeping in his bed and laying down, and he's like, Henry, I got a rock. You know, I didn't get it. You know, this wasn't my shot. And the two of them don't remember the other outcome. They don't remember the wish. They don't remember that it's possible. And so Boley's like, you know what? We'll do it all right. We'll tomorrow we'll go. This is the thing that made me chuckle. He's like, we'll go to a hockey game. And I was like, a hockey game? I don't know. Okay.
It felt odd, right? You're like, it seems like baseball or anything like. I think part of the. Do you have hockey? Is hockey popular? It is where you are.
Oh yeah. I'm in Minnesota. We're basically southern Canada, and hockey is everywhere. I'm not a fan. I don't care about hockey. Oh, geez. I hope I didn't just start a fight with a bunch of people hating me. But
it's okay. It's not for everyone.
I love that people who love hockey, but it is massive here. But I was like, I wonder where this is supposed to be, because I don't know if that's a hockey town. But anyway.
Yeah, you know what? It never occurred to me where it was set. I thought it was New York.
I would imagine that, or a big
or Philadelphia
metro area,
or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
The style of housing just kind of reminded me of those places.
And now that I think about it, if it was a hockey town, it could have been Chicago.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
Chicago's close, far enough north. Anyway, they're talking about it. He's like, we'll get hot dogs, and you know, it'd be great. And Henry says he remembers making the biggest wish he could for Boley, but since it didn't work, he's like, I'm not going to make any more wishes. He's like, there ain't no such thing as magic, is there? He asked Boley, and it's like, oh man, it's so broke. It makes me so sad, you know? It makes you so sad. It's intended to. And Boley goes, I guess not, Henry. And then he says, as he's leaving, he's like, or maybe there is magic, and maybe there's wishes too. I guess the trouble is there's not enough people around to believe. And then that's the end of it. So it still ends on like a, you know, it's sadder, but it's still a happy note. They're still friends. They're still going to connect. But you see the difference of like what happens when you believe and what happens when you don't believe. You're still wishing.
Yeah.
And then we get the outro, the voiceover at the end. Mr. Boley Jackson, 183 pounds, who left a second chance lying in a heap on a rosin-spattered canvas in St. Nick's Arena. Mr. Boley Jackson, who shares the most common ailment of all men, the strange and perverse disinclination to believe in a miracle, the kind of miracle to come from the mind of a little boy, perhaps only to be found in the Twilight Zone.
Love it. I think this episode, I appreciate this one more every time I see it.
Yeah.
It kind of sinks in a little more because I think a lot of it just has to do with how a lot of these issues have sprung back up and are in the forefront of media, and you're hearing about it a lot more. So that's the timeless nature of the Twilight Zone.
Well, and what a powerful message for this to be in 1960. And that Serling was like, no, we're gonna put this episode in the air. We're gonna put these characters. We're gonna put this situation. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's just a testament to Serling and how progressive he was. This actually, I guess, later saw too that it spurred on CBS expanding the diversity their programming as well. He basically said there's some comments to him attributed to Serling that's like, we keep looking for the new hot talent, for the it person, the new up and comer, and he's like, and we have totally ignored this whole community, you know, not in so many words but he says it differently, using some words that I would avoid. But that was the language at the time. But it's I love that he's just like, hey, y'all, we're we're discounting this whole group of people because of what? Racism? Because that's all it's got to be, because these people are incredibly talented, and we should be casting more people of color in our shows.
It's interesting too. The way it's written, you could cast any ethnicity. It's not about being black.
Totally.
It's
totally.
That just so happens to be, in this era, it's enough to have the theme you have and the cast you have to make that connection without it ever being said that it's about civil rights.
Right.
It makes you think about it without shoving it down your throat. Like, and that was the key in 1960 to, I think, really connecting with some people and changing the way they think.
Well, and I think it's still the key now with a lot of the stuff that the reason why, again, going back to the beginning of what we talked about of this series, so much of the Twilight Zone is it's so subtle in the way that it presents a message to you that you're like, oh, I can palate that. I can handle this message. And then you start thinking about it and you're like, oh, wait a minute. This has bigger ramifications than I thought. Yeah, it does. Like, that's the whole point. He was so good at getting that message across of communicating something without putting it so in your face that that you rejected it, which I think happens very often today.
Yeah, for real. Anything else that you want to say about this episode?
No, I think it was fantastic. I really like it. It's one of those that I kind of want to watch and show other people too, to be like, here's this is like a cool, simple story, and then you talk about the layer, and then a layer, and a layer, and a layer, and I just love that. So I want to believe. I love that kid. I'm never going to forget that. I'm never going to hear that word ever again the same way.
Did you ever try boxing growing up at all?
No, I've often thought about it as like a fitness thing, but then I'm like, I think I don't want to have my nose broken because I got a big old nose.
Same. I mean, I don't want my nose broken.
Yeah, right.
And it's big. I have a big nose that I don't want broken. We have that in common.
But it seems like the more I don't think I like watching fights, but I do want to have an open mind to it to understand what people love about it. And the more that I do that, the more I understand what a wild, like, it is. It's a whole art. It's very much a very, very intricate thing of how people box, how that style works, all the training, all the thought, and everything, like strategy that goes into it.
Yeah, it's kind of, that part of it's cool, but then there's also like all the underhanded, like shady aspects, more so than I think almost any other sport besides like professional wrestling. But like boxing, yeah, my uncle collected, he had tapes, like he had bookshelves. He was a preacher, but he loved boxing, and he had all these bookshelves full of tapes, matches with, and he had a bookshelf for like different weight classes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like one bookshelf would be like, like welterweight and the heavyweight section and all that. It was really neat. And I thought I was like, oh, this is a kind of a cool thing. You don't need anything. So I had a friend in school who, I think one of those programs that kind of keeps kids out of trouble, he ended up getting into the boxing part of it.
Oh, yeah.
And we tried bare knuckle boxing in the street.
Oh, no.
And he had been taught, he had already been doing this shit for a long time, and he was really strong anyway. And you're thinking, yeah, this is fine. You can do this. And being punched in the head by somebody who is who's been trained to throw punches and who has conditioned themselves is awful. I don't recommend it. I mean, it sucks enough to get like you have it punched in your gut and have the wind completely knocked out of you entirely, but being hit in the head like that, I'm sure I probably had a concussion from it. And I never did it again. We did a little bit with friends who were like softer guys like me who wanted to learn about like how you hold your hands and what you move, how you moved your feet and all that stuff.
Yeah.
No,
it's really
outclassed 100%.
To your point, it's really interesting. A lot. That's something that I've heard a lot. That anyone who has even a little bit of training on how to be a fighter, it's just you are instantly that much more prepared for it.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
you've done any sort of training.
it's the weight behind the punch, I think, is the main thing. Like they've achieved, like anyone who's achieved that, being able to put your entire body weight behind a punch and have it
Yeah.
really just as much momentum and force as you can get into the end of your fist, you know? That's really the part of it that blows me away, is that those guys, they have that and all the speed that they have to train for, like with that speed
Right.
bags and all the footwork that they train.
Which explains why Bruce Lee was so into boxing, because in Jeet Kune Do, if you ever see, he was always famous for his 1-inch punch.
Oh yeah.
And it wasn't about him winding up. It was like just an inch that he would move, but he would put his whole body into that punch.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting.
Some of it feels like magic tricks too.
Yeah.
It's good shit. I don't watch it anymore, but I used to really love boxing.
Interesting.
It was just something I could wrap my head around as a kid when I was confused by football or too many, sports that had a lot of rules I didn't get. I could watch those and follow the whole match, and understood what was happening.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Next up is a nice place to visit.
Yeah. A lot of these episodes have like ironic wish fulfillment, and I think that speaks a lot to maybe Rod Serling adjusting to celebrity, and I think this is just another case of that next week. Yeah.
I never thought of that, but I love that idea.
Because he revisits the theme a lot in the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anywho, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
It's been a pleasure. Bye, y'all.